Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Andrew Brugnone, and this is the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the opportunity when students have the opportunity to ask the pressing questions of the future leaders of our United Student Government. Thanks for joining me again, Anthony and Ian, and let's get started now. I want to ask you guys one of the same questions I asked them. You both are running unopposed in this election. I'll start with Anthony first. What do you think that says about the student body, maybe their interest in USG?
I don't think interest in USG is the right way to go about it. I think that the real problem is student organizations. We have a real dire crisis on our hands, and it's the fact that student organizations are falling apart right underneath us. It's not just USG. As the audience will tell you, I'm sure they're members of clubs that have seen a loss in turnout, a loss of people participating. Now, there's one of three reasons for that. It's either that this generation really is really lazy. It could be that the clubs aren't trying as hard. But since most of us know that not to be true, I'm going to think it's the third option. The third option being that really students are stretched too thin. There's a lot of organizations. There's a lot of organizations that do a lot of the same things. If you notice the amount of co-sponsored events we've had this year, people are working together because they're all in the same club. So I think that the reason turnout is so low is really that students are trying hard to participate, but there's just so many opportunities that in the end of the day, what do you choose to do? So it's a tough one.
And Ian, same question. Do you think this is going to be a trend for the years to come?
I should hope not. I agree primarily with Anthony in that the key issue here is really one of student organizations and involvement within those organizations. But I wouldn't necessarily say that this isn't a goal for USG to overcome as USG. I think we have to do some unique things in addressing this goal, primarily making our presence known on campus, continuing to do so and really pushing to do so. And one thing that's going to help us in doing that, I think, is more direct representation for students and their senators. I think if we can get that, in addition to making some of the changes that Anthony has discussed in terms of student organizations, then USG will become a bit more widely known about, a bit more sought after, these positions. So those would be how I address those problems directly.
And what, if you guys had to, run your campaign on one thing, what, Anthony, is that one thing, that you want to change or make better for students here?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say one thing, but the thing that we've been pushing is student organizations. My strongest belief is that the reason they're falling apart is a lack of communication. It's something the club's been writing about all semester, and I think they're spot on. It's that, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, particularly with first-year clubs. If you look at first-year clubs, I'm sad to say as a senator, I got the opportunity, and it was a lot of fun, to get to see the passion on Rules Committee, where you have clubs coming in to present. New students with great ideas who want to see a new club flourish. I'm sad to say that out of all the clubs we've sat there and approved over these past 2 years, I can think of maybe 2 out of probably the 20 I've sat in on that are still in existence right now. That's ridiculous. We have to work harder with first-year clubs. We have to make sure we don't lose them. They're necessary to the survival of this campus. They have to succeed.
And Ian, what would you say is your strongest goal?
Well, this is an issue, again, where Anthony and I have talked pretty extensively about these issues, and that's one I agree with him on. That's a top priority, absolutely. Student representation, as I just mentioned, is another one. I think, additionally, in addition to those two, because those are all top goals, I think continuing to work with food service in addressing student concerns is a big goal. For the past year, I've served on the Student Concerns Committee, and we get more concerns than anything about various issues with the way food service works on this campus. That's one thing that I think needs to be addressed directly as a broad issue, and there are, key issues within it that need to be addressed. Opening the cafe on Sundays is a good start, but it's something we're going to have to work towards continuously.
And I think we are ready for our first student question. And can you tell us what your name is?
I'm Colleen Ferguson. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Globe this semester. And I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you a couple hard questions right off the bat. But Ian went into this a little bit. You said that you wanted to improve the relationship between student clubs and USG and improve the relationship between students on campus and the student clubs. Do you have specific ways that you're planning on doing that?
Cool. I think the major thing to understand, and one of the biggest pieces of our platform, is the fact that there's only so much that the student government can do when it comes to day-to-day tasks for student organizations. the three things that I firmly believe that we should do as a student government when it comes to clubs. First and foremost, approve clubs. That should always be in the hands of the students. That should never go away. The second thing that we should do is we should hear the concerns of clubs. That should be where they come from. The students should know that they can come to us and go from there. And the third thing that we should do is fund events. If we're focusing on those three things, I think that leaves you wide open to handle those three things effectively. Now, I know what your question would be from this. It's probably going to be, then who does the other stuff? Well, that's the Office of Student Activities. Student Activities in the past, I think, has been a little bit murky. They've been a little bit confused about what we want from them. We've never been clear with it. I plan this summer, along with Ian, to sit down with Student Activities and let them know that there are things that USG simply cannot handle and that are just too big for us. We're not staffed 40 hours a week like the Office of Student Activities is. We want them to take up the slack and make sure that they're doing the responsibilities that we can't handle effectively.
And you mentioned funding, so I'm going to bring up that issue. There
Sure.
has been an issue over this, the history of the school with funding, and I was wondering if you had any specific ways that you were planning on addressing that issue.
It's your turn.
Sure. Well, one fundamental difference in the way that I think funding is probably going to be done next year is that we're going to have a clear budget breakdown going into each semester. Obviously not numbers-wise, because we're not going to get our budget until sometime into the semester, but at least percentages so that we have an idea. We can sit down with the treasurer whenever he or she is appointed, and we can discuss these issues before presenting them necessarily to clubs or to the Globe or to the student body as a whole or whomever, just so that there is some fact-checking and some questioning before it's too late. I think that the Globe is right to ask questions. I think you always do a great job of doing so. And that particular issue certainly is one that needs to be looked at and needs to be addressed. And I think that's the primary way of going about doing it, budget breakdowns.
Now, you guys were talking about relationships between student clubs. How do you expect to address the relationships as the student body as a whole, if you don't have these clubs to address them through? If that makes sense.
I guess you're asking about student concerns.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what this question is about?
Beyond student organizations.
Of course, yeah. I mean, student organizations is a tiny percentage of what USG has to do. So I agree. This year, and I'm hoping that the audience out there agrees with me. We've focused a huge amount of effort into student concerns, and it's paid off in full. As Mike has said just earlier in the speech he gave, student concerns has really showed us great success. We're reaching people. There's no way around it. We're talking. We're getting results. The Common Hour policy, that's been a huge win for commuters. Knowing that they're going to have a solid block of time where they can have their meetings. I can't tell you how many happy commuters I've talked to this week. Sunday Cafe service, bike program, these are things that have come to us, that have been told to us, and it's something that we will continue to do. The focus is on student concerns. It's what we're here for. It's why we're here.
Great. And my last question for you two, what would you like your legacy to be as president or vice president for the next year?
That's a good one. You want to share this? You can go first.
Wow.
It's a big one.
That is a big one.
It's huge legacy.
I expected hard questions. I didn't expect big questions.
Reaching out, touching.
Reaching out is always, yeah. Yeah.
There's some like from the crowd. But seriously, there is a group of people that will be standing where we stand today 10 years from now. That's important to remember. We got to talk to the Student Organization Council today, and I think something that presidents of clubs understand is that legacy is important. What you do tomorrow, even though you're not going to be there next year, it still matters, even though you don't benefit from it. Club leaders understand that, and we want to reach out and let people understand the same thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and before our next student question, I'd like to take the opportunity to say, this is definitely a different kind of format than we've had in the past. We normally have debates, but I think this year, as you guys are kind of echoing, was a lot about, getting close to the students, getting the students involved, and, having discussions with the student, hearing their concerns, instead of, being this overarching government. You guys are, actively letting students participate and reaching out to them. And so I think, this definitely, gives students a chance to, ask questions of you in, a way that they would talk to you if they were, just passing you on the street or, in the library or anything. So, I think this is a really good platform for you guys. And we have our next student question.
Hi, My name is Brittany Jondro, and I'm the editor-elect for The Globe for this semester. And I actually just had one question. It was for Anthony.
Oh, sure.
As part of your platform, you said that you were going to keep tuition at the same rate for students, like whatever they come in with. For 4 years, they're going to pay the same tuition. And I was just wondering how you were going to go about that.
So you like that? You want to see that happen?
It's an interesting idea.
You're pro that idea, though. I'd hope.
Yeah.
It's definitely a popular issue. Call that my pie in the sky, if you will. I believe firmly that if a student is told that they will be paying a certain amount of money to go here from the get-go, then they deserve to pay that fee for all 4 years. The way it goes now, to me, if you start paying a certain sum and they end up raising this tuition on you, there is a chance that you can go to another school and grab those credits, but most likely what's going to happen is you're stuck here. And to me, that's unfair. As far as going about doing it, I've already talked to administration, and as you could probably guess, they're not happy. They're not thrilled that I want to do this. But as many people in this room know, I've never backed down from a battle. I've never stopped fighting for something simply because people tell me it's not possible. I don't believe in that. I'm an optimist. And I firmly believe that if we push hard enough, and I have your support on this, we can change it. So I will be there for the fight, and I hope you'll be right alongside me.